Hey, it's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm. Well, I think anytime you put secret in the title of one of your videos, you owe it to your audience to right away explain what you mean by that, lest you be accused of clickbait. So here goes. The secret to running your own nursery is that you don't make any money propagating plants, and you don't make any money growing plants. You only make money selling plants. And now that may sound really obvious to you, but if so, how do we lose the plot so often? It's the number one reason why small nurseries fail. It's the number one reason that large nurseries fail, is that we get lots of plants on the ground, we propagate lots of stuff, and then we don't have the customer base to support it. And I can see how it happens. You can see a video with a guy like me promoting how to propagate roses, and I could talk about growing 1,000 or 2,000 roses. You could see somebody walking around his garden and saying, I could put 50 of those in the ground, I could put 50 of those in the ground, and each one of those I could sell for $5. And you don't finish the sentence. You're doing the math in your head going, well, that's $250 over there, that's $250 over there. You have to finish the sentence. The finish of that sentence is if and when you sell the plants, right? So that's the thing you have to keep in mind, is that the tough part of the nursery business is selling. You could become the best propagator in the world, you could become the best at making divisions and cuttings, and if you focus only on that, it's probably the easiest way for you to go out of business. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about 4 different methods that I've explored in how to sell nursery production from my own backyard nursery, from my own small scale backyard nursery, and I'll take you through those now. One of the very first things I tried when trying to market my plants was to take them to the farmer's market. And this goes way back to the days when I was just propagating a few trays of plants in my backyard garden in a suburban neighborhood. It's really an adaptable way and quite scalable for the small grower. Now, it doesn't have to be the farmer's market. Since then, I've expanded my horizons a little bit. I go to flea markets, I go to plant sales, dedicated regional plant sales. I sometimes go to garden clubs, and they invite me over to speak, and I set up my plants to sell there. So picking up your plants and taking them someplace to sell them is a great way to get into the business in a way that doesn't cause a lot of upfront investment. You really have to have a tent, a table, some tablecloths, maybe a cash box, and it does help to have some good signage. I made a whole video on presenting at the farmer's market. I'll link that on the top right hand side of your screen. But honestly, the most valuable thing about it, and I won't go into every detail, but the most valuable thing is that you get that direct customer feedback. When you're first starting out, and if you're a gardener, you probably have some good idea of what customers will want. But there's nothing like that direct customer feedback. When you produce plants, you get them to a certain stage, you put them on the table, and as people walk by, what catches their eye, what they want to talk about, what they actually buy, will guide your production decisions ongoing. And I've found that even now that I sell some plants wholesale or sell some plants online, that those initial conversations I had with customers really gave me an idea of what's hot, what's sexy with customers. And so fantastic for customer feedback, easy way to get into the business, can't recommend it enough. The second method of marketing my plants that I want to talk about is selling them wholesale. That is, taking a large amount of plants and selling them on to another grower or to a garden center or somebody else who's going to take on the task of potting them up and individually trying to sell them, which can take a lot of your time. So the disadvantage is you typically have to accept a lower margin on things that you grow in bulk for somebody else. They want to be able to make some money too, and that's fine. The bright side is that in one order, you can cover off $300 or $400. And in this case, if I have 5 or 6 wholesale customers, that's, $2,000, $3,000 I don't have to make up someplace else. So wholesale growing is fantastic. And really, the only thing is, it's awkward. Like, you have to go to garden centers, you have to go to other growers and you say, where do you get your plants? Can I grow something for you? So it takes a sales task that sometimes can be a little uncomfortable, but long term, you can get those contracts to roll over year after year. You can get great benefit from this in your business. The third option I want to talk about today is setting up a plant sale at your location, which you might at first think is great because people are going to be coming directly to you. You don't have to pack up or go anywhere. But I assure you that the amount of work involved in setting up your place for business equals or exceeds that of going to a plant sale. Staffing it, sitting around for that period of time can be a problem as well. So if you're going to do it, I'd suggest start small, try just a few open hours on a Saturday or a Sunday, or just one plant sale a year, and see how it goes for you. I did set up a video on running a plant sale from your own property, so I'll link that to the upper right hand corner of the screen. And yeah, I mean, it can go really well. It can be a very lucrative day, but there's a lot of work involved in doing it that way, and trying to set up full-scale retail full-time is an undertaking of itself, which I haven't tried myself. So and maybe if you do, you can let me know how it goes for you. Okay, the last tool I'd like you to consider is selling your plants online, and it can look very different depending on how you do it. So one way that I've tried is by selling as a mail order. I put them onto my website. I have specialty roses, and to get access to a larger market of customers who want to buy those specialty roses, I've been selling them across Canada through mail order. I did that this spring, and it turned out okay. I have a feeling that if you're watching this from the States, that you have an advantage in this regard, because you have a postal service and some competing postal services that will make your shipping rates much, much more attractive. In Canada here, it is brutal. But in any case, it proved to be an interesting way to bring in some extra revenue. I could sell small plants at a good price, and I could reach the demand of all the customers across a nation, rather than just reaching the people who happen to show up at the farmer's market that day. Another way you can go about selling online, and I want to talk about a friend of mine named Mark, who does a great job selling his plants through Craigslist and Facebook marketplaces. And all he does is, a couple times a week, 3 times a week, he puts up a really attractive ad in one of these forums, and then from there he books appointments, and he doesn't have to sit around as a retail location, open the gates and let people wander in as they will, and therefore waste a lot of time waiting around. He makes appointments, he gives them his cell phone number, and when they're there, they give him a call, he opens the gate, they come in, they buy their plants, and that way it's very efficient for his time, which is important for you if you're running a backyard nursery. I hope that this has been interesting to you. I want to, pound into your head that before you get swept away on the promise of fast profits from, throw a few sticks in the ground, you'll get lots of money from those, that you spend at least equal amount of time thinking about how you're going to sell those, what your market looks like, and get that market feedback before you proceed too far into the business. It might tell you that you're growing something differently than you should be.